This week's topic in family counseling class is professional issues in family counseling. And I think that you'll find that the journal articles that you're reading for this week are very well suited as a follow-up to our panel last week. If you'll recall, we had Kay Freeman as a representative of the family program Healthy Start, and that's a grant-funded federal program where they provide different types of services to families that are adjusting to the birth of a new baby during the prenatal and postnatal period. We had Tamara Davison from Scotland Schools, and she is the Scotland County Student Support Coordinator and oversees all of the student support services for Scotland County Public Schools, including the family and student support teams. We also had Melinda Frederick from Community Innovations, who is the supervisor and the clinical director for the in-home family counseling services that Community Innovations provides. And we had John Edwards, a student who was newly provisionally licensed as an LMFT. And an LMFT, again, for those of you who might not have remembered, is a licensed marriage and family therapist. That is a state mandated or overseen credential. You, as a licensed professional counselor in North Carolina, an LPC, it is within your scope of practice to do family counseling. John has decided to pursue an additional credential, the LMFT, on top of being an LPC. And one of the things he spoke to us about was the need to take an additional national exam to get that credential, and to also have a specific type of supervisor to pursue that credential. So back to the articles. One of the articles talks about some school family collaboration models for addressing mental health needs. I wanted to just tell you a little bit about one of the counseling practices that I was involved in. I worked for a couple of years in a family counseling clinic. It was a grant-funded project. It was a really great experience to work with a grant-funded project, even though the money isn't guaranteed to be there for an ongoing period. Having a grant-funded project allowed us to provide free services to the community and eliminated the need to be dealing with Medicaid or other third-party payers. So we really could just focus on building the best therapeutic program because we didn't have to attend to some of the messiness that goes along with the billing end of things. But the model of care that we had at the clinic that I worked at was very heavily focused on the idea of school family collaboration. So we received referrals from 3 counties that surrounded where the clinic was based, and the school counselors at each of those public schools would draft up a referral form for a student and that student's family and their school setting to come to our clinic and receive family counseling services after hours. So it was a really great relationship that we had set up. We went out to the schools, and we would sometimes do trainings at the school for the school counselors about how to go about doing that referral process and how to identify students and their families that would be a good fit with the services that we could provide. In return, the school counselors agreed to send referrals our way, and we received many of them. And then the families would work with us, and we would get the families to sign confidentiality agreements where appropriate that permitted us to exchange limited information with the school in support of that family. So some things that would be necessitate a referral would be kids who were acting out at school and were seen to benefit from some family services would come in. We had students whose parent had recently passed away, and they would come in and do family counseling, focusing on grief issues. We had kids that were being bullied, and their entire family would come in, and the focus would be about the family's response to bullying and improving the social and coping skills of the student who was being bullied. And just a variety of other typical family problems related to students not doing well in school and the family wanting to adjust to that, blended family issues, and so forth. So it was just a really neat model because it allowed us as family counselors to get into the schools and learn more about what was going on there and support the academic achievement of the students. And then in the schools, we were a resource in the community for them to be able to help their students get additional services beyond what the school themselves could actually provide. But it was that real directed effort to opening up lines of communication between our office and the school that made the collaboration model successful. And I think that there are many students in schools that are working with practitioners out in the community that maybe that communication is not shared as seamlessly as it could be, and confidentiality needs to be respected in that, and not everything that happens in therapy needs to be shared with what goes on in the school. But there can be information that can be shared on behalf of the student that will help the school to meet that student's needs. And it takes time, though, and sometimes busy practitioners in the community, and especially those that don't have the benefit of working in a grant-funded center, may not have enough time in their day to call and try to track down the person at school that they need to talk to. And definitely from the school end, a school counselor might be very busy and not be able to collaborate in the other direction with the community-based people. So we learn about these models and they're ideal, and then putting them into practice takes a lot of effort. So we really have to see the value in putting them into practice in order to give them time. The other article about home-based service delivery, I would say that this is a real important article for the family counselors in our class who plan to pursue their LPC, because it's likely that during the time that you are provisionally licensed that you might find yourself providing some in-home family counseling. As Melinda discussed during the speakers panel, it's a pretty common path towards licensure for LPCAs to work providing in-home family counseling services. And so you need to be aware of the ins and outs of that type of service delivery. I think that when it comes to going into clients' homes, there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind related to that. It shows to families that you're willing to try to be more accessible and meet on their terms at times that will be helpful to them. It takes a lot of persistence as a professional to go into a client's home and to create a workable space and a quiet atmosphere where the therapeutic environment can be replicated in the client's home. So when y'all are doing your observations of families, for observation number 2, you might remember that I said I really want you to create an environment that is different than the normal chaos that is often a family home. So that's why I was saying come to the clinic and use the 3rd floor lab space up there in the education building and meet with your family there, so that you are creating that quiet atmosphere where you can observe them in a different way. But if you have to meet with a family in their home, then you need to ahead of time discuss the parameters of what that atmosphere will be like, such as turning the TV off, saying to family members that there'll be no smoking during your sessions, putting the family dog away so that that isn't a disruption or a safety issue. Making sure that the kids don't have electronics, cell phones, Nintendo DS on their lap when you're trying to do your therapy services. So you really just want to, when you go into homes, make an effort to be proactive about creating an environment that establishes some calmness to the setting, even if what is being discussed is tumultuous. That will increase the chances that you will really be successful in what you're trying to accomplish there. And finally, the other article that you're reading talks about collaboration with families and doing programming. And I hope that that's something that will give you a little bit of inspiration for your signature assignment projects. That article encourages you to think about families as experts of their own lives. As a family counselor, you have expertise in different models of working with families for change, but the families are really and truly the experts on themselves. And that is a newer, fresher way of thinking about the work that we do. Some of the earlier approaches to working with families therapeutically presented this idea that the therapist was all knowing and would come to this dysfunctional family and tell them how to be. And we've really moved away from that, and seeing now the therapist or the family counselor as someone who works alongside with a family to help them to achieve the goals that are mutually agreed upon. So it's a much more strengths and focused approach. When you think about collaboration, though, you want to, of course, think about collaborating with your families, but you also want to think about collaborating from a multidisciplinary point of view. And that's where that first article about school-family collaboration becomes important. As a family counselor, you're going to want to be able to collaborate with the schools. You want to collaborate with pediatricians. You want to collaborate with different social services programs that the family may be involved in. And the more input you can get, excuse me, from the different people that are involved in your clients' lives, then the more effective and streamlined all those services can be.